The door banged against the wall when he stepped in. Cold air swept through the barn and sent the lantern flame flickering. She was there. Crouched in the corner behind the feed barrels, a horse blanket pulled tight around her shoulders. Her eyes were wide, but she didn't move. "I said get out," he told her. His voice was flat, the kind that carried without needing to rise. She didn't blink. "Don't send me back." He took a step closer, boots scraping over hay and dirt. The horses shifted in their stalls, ears twitching. "Ain't your choice," he said. "This ain't a shelter." "I'll be quiet," she said. "You won't know I'm here." "That's not the point." He set the lantern on a post, the light catching her face. She was young, maybe 13 or 14, but her skin was pale from cold, lips trembling. Her feet were bare. "Name," he said. She shook her head. "Don't have one." "Everybody's got a name." "Not me." He crouched down, close enough to smell the damp in her clothes. "You running from something?" "They'll come if they smell the lamplight." He frowned. "Who?" She pulled the blanket tighter, but didn't answer. He stood, grabbed her arm to haul her up. She fought him, clinging to the stall post with both hands. "Let go." "Please," she gasped. "Not outside." He yanked harder, but her grip was locked. "This is my barn. You don't get to—" He stopped. The light caught dark marks on her arm, oval shapes. Faint at first, but the longer he looked, the clearer they were. A belt buckle had done that. He let go. She stayed where she was, breathing fast. "Who did that?" he asked. "Don't matter." "It matters to me." She wouldn't look at him. "Just let me stay till morning." He rubbed a hand over his jaw, glancing at the barn door. "You got family?" "Not anymore." He studied her face, the stubborn set of her mouth, the way she didn't flinch from the cold. "Where's home?" "Not here," and he stepped back, feeling the ache in his knee. "You're not staying. I'll walk you to the road." She didn't move. He reached for her again, and that's when she whispered it. "Please, Pa." The sound stopped him. 2 words, soft and cracked, like she'd dragged them up from somewhere deep. His chest tightened. That was what his daughter used to call him before she died. He stared at the girl, his hand frozen halfway to her. "Don't," he said. She kept her eyes on the floor. "Don't call me that," he added sharper. "I'm not your father." "I know," she said. He stepped back, heart hammering. The smell of hay and horses pressed in, the cold nipping at his ears. "You need to go." She lifted her head, her eyes dark and steady. "If I go, they'll find me. And if you stay, they'll come here. Then you'll see them." He exhaled, trying to slow his breathing. "You think I'm scared of whoever's after you?" "No," she said. "I think they're scared of you." He almost laughed, but it came out rough. "You're wrong." "So send me out," she said, "and you'll never know." Her voice was even, no shake in it now. He turned toward the door, hand on the latch. The wind outside rattled the boards. Somewhere a dog barked. He thought about the grave on the hill, the one with no flowers because he couldn't bring himself to tend it, the one with his daughter's name carved deep enough to last 100 years. He let go of the latch. "One night," he said. "Not a minute more." She nodded, pulling the blanket tighter. He blew out the lantern and left her there in the dark. Inside the house he couldn't settle. He paced from the kitchen to the front room, listening for sounds from the barn. The floor creaked under his boots. He poured himself coffee, too late at night for it, and sat at the table. His hand wrapped around the cup but didn't drink. He tried not to picture the bruises. He failed. The wind-pea icked up, whistling at the window seams. Once he thought he heard footsteps outside, but when he opened the door, the yard was empty. Back in the barn, she was awake. She sat against the stall post, eyes open, watching the shadows move on the walls. The horses shifted, one letting out a soft huff. She kept her breathing slow, the way she had learned to when hiding. The cold sank into her bones, but she didn't care. The dark here was softer than the dark she had come from. He finally lay down on his bed, but didn't undress. He stared at the ceiling, counting the knots in the wood. His mind kept circling back to the way she'd said it. Pa. Not as a trick. Not like she thought it'd earn her something. Like she already believed it. That was worse, somehow. Before dawn, he was back at the barn. She was still there, blanket pulled up to her chin. Her eyes flicked toward him, but she didn't speak. He leaned on the door frame, looking at her for a long moment. "You hungry?" he asked. She nodded. "Come on, then." She followed him inside, bare feet silent on the packed dirt. In the kitchen, she sat at the table while he cut thick slices of bread. He poured milk into a tin cup and set it in front of her. She watched him before taking a sip, as if waiting for permission. "You always watch folks eat first?" he asked. She nodded again. "Safer that way." He frowned. "From what?" "From being made to spit it out." He sat across from her, the chair creaking. "You're a strange one." "I'm alive," she said. That's strange enough for them. He wanted to ask who them was, but the question stuck. He was too tired, and the light coming in through the curtains was thin and grey. Outside, the wind had died down. Inside, the air was heavy. She took another sip of milk, slow and deliberate, never breaking eye contact. He leaned back, watching her chew the bread. He knew he should walk her to the road right now. He also knew he wasn't going to. He shoved the barn door shut hard enough to rattle the hinges. The cold stayed outside, but the noise bounced off the walls. He paced a few steps, mutties, ring under his breath, hands curling and uncurling. She didn't move from where she sat in the straw, knees pulled tight under the blanket. Her teeth caught at her lip, chewing slow like she'd done it 1,000 times before. He grabbed a sack of feed, poured it into a trough just to give his hands something to do. She watched him the whole time. He set the lantern on a post, light spilling across her face. "You think calling me that's going to work?" he asked. She didn't flinch. "Worked enough to keep me here." He let out a short, humorless laugh. "You don't know me." "Don't have to," she said. "I know what you heard." He stopped in the middle of the aisle, staring at her. "My daughter's been dead 6 years." "I know." The way she said it made his skin crawl. He picked up a pitchfork, moved hay from one stall to another, though the horses didn't need it. "Don't say it again." "Didn't plan to," she said. "Just needed you to hear it once." On the rafters above, a scratching sound started, faint at first. He froze, eyes lifting. The horses shifted in their stalls, one stamping its hoof. She didn't look up, didn't even seem to hear it. "You hear that?" he asked. "Hear what?" "Up there." "Just wood settling," she said. He set the fork down slow, eyes still on the shadows above. "You sure about that?" "Sure enough." The sound faded. He turned back to her. "Where were you before here?" "Doesn't matter." "It matters if I'm going to keep you in my barn." "I'm not asking you to keep me. Just not throw me out." He moved closer, leaning his hand against the stall post above her head. "You think I'm the kind of man who keeps strangers overnight?" "I think you're the kind who don't leave a girl in the cold." His jaw tightened. He looked at the bruises on her arm again. "Who did that?" "Don't ask." "Why?" "You don't want the answer." He pushed away from the post, pacing again. The barn smelled of hay, dust, and cold leather. Outside the wind had dropped, but the air still felt tight, like before a storm. "You got until daylight," he said finally. "Then I'm taking you to the road." She nodded once. "Fine." He went to the tack room, pulled a blanket from a shelf and tossed it to her. She caught it without thanks, wrapped it around her shoulders, then curled up in the straw again. He turned the lantern low and stepped outside. In the house, he sat at the kitchen table, staring at the dark window. He could see the faint reflection of his own face, lined, tired, eyes that didn't trust anyone anymore. He told himself she'd be gone in a few hours. But when he lay in bed, sleep didn't come easy. Every creak of the old wood made him listen harder. Somewhere in the night, that same faint scratching came again, and he thought he could hear the horses shifting like they were uneasy. He almost went back out, but didn't. Just before dawn, he got up, lit the stove, and put water on to boil. He told himself it was for coffee, not for her. The first pale light slipped through the curtains. He heard the barn door creak open, footsteps on the porch. The kitchen door latch clicked, and she walked in like she'd done it every morning of her life. Bare feet on the wood floor, blankets still around her shoulders. She sat at the table without a word. "You help yourself to my house now?" he asked. "You said till daylight," she said. "It's daylight." "That's not an invitation." Didn't sound like one. He poured coffee into his cup, watched her from the corner of his eye. She didn't ask for food, didn't ask for anything. Just sat there, looking around the kitchen like she was mapping it. "You think you can just walk in here and—" "You left the door unlatched," she cut in. He set his cup down. "What are you after?" "Not after anything." "Then why are you still here?" "Because I will be until you make me leave." Her voice was steady, not loud, not pleading. Just a fact. It made him think of his daughter again, the way she used to look at him when she'd already decided what she was going to do. He rubbed his forehead. "One meal, then you're gone." She gave a small nod, as if she'd already agreed to something else entirely. The water on the stove began to boil. He dropped coffee grounds into the pot, the smell filling the room. She watched the steam rise, eyes half-lidded. The way she sat, calm and still, made him uneasy, like she knew something he didn't. He slid a plate with bread toward her. She didn't touch it. "You first," she said. "What?" "You eat first." "You think I'm going to poison you?" "I think I'll wait anyway." He tore a piece of bread, chewed it, swallowed. Only then did she take the plate. She ate slow, like she had all the time in the world. "You're a strange one," he said. "Been told?" The sun pushed higher, spilling gold light across the floor. He knew what he should do. He also knew she wasn't leaving yet. She was halfway through a piece of cornbread when the knock hit. Hard, 3 times, like the door might give way if he didn't answer. He looked up from his coffee. "Stay quiet," he said. She took another bite instead. The knock came again, louder. He set his cup down, crossed the room and pulled the door open. The sheriff filled the frame, hat low, eyes sharp. His coat smelled of horse and dust. "Heard you had trouble last night," the sheriff said. "You heard wrong," the man replied. The sheriff's gaze slid past him into the kitchen. "Mind if I come in?" "You're already halfway there," the man said, stepping aside. The sheriff walked in slow, looking around like every detail told him a story. His eyes landed on the girl. She didn't look up, kept chewing the cornbread like he wasn't there. "Who's that?" the sheriff asked. "My kin," the man said without thinking. The sheriff raised a brow. "Didn't know you had any left." "She's from my wife's side." The girl looked up then, wiped a crumb from her lip. "Pa," she said. The wabiyo ord hung there.
The sheriff's mouth twitched in something close to a smirk. Pa, huh? That's what she calls me, the man said, his voice flat.
The sheriff stepped closer to the table. You hear about the trouble over at the governor's farm? No. Runaways, the sheriff said. Young women who don't know their place. Governor says they're dangerous. Dangerous how? The man asked. They lie, steal, spread stories that don't do anybody any good. The sheriff's eyes moved between the man and the girl. He's offering a reward to anyone who turns one in. Not interested, the man said. The sheriff rested a hand on the back of a chair, fingers drumming. Funny thing is, one of 'em's supposed to be about her age. Dark hair. Quiet until she's not. She's family, the man said again, harder this time. The girl didn't blink. Want some cornbread, Sheriff? She asked. He looked at her for a long moment. No, thank you. The man shifted his weight. You done here? The sheriff smiled thinly. For now. He tipped his hat to the girl. Ma'am. She gave a small nod, nothing more. At the door, the sheriff paused. You ever change your mind about that reward? You know where to find me. The man didn't answer. He shut the door behind him, the latch clicking louder than usual. Silence settled. The girl took another bite of cornbread. You're real good at making trouble, he said. I told you they'd come. He sat back down across from her. If he thinks you're my kin, he might let it go. Or he might watch harder, she said. You got a way of making everything sound like a bad option. Because they are. He rubbed the back of his neck. What happens if he figures out you're not family? They'll take me back. And if I tell him the truth now, they'll take me back. He leaned back in his chair. Doesn't leave me much choice then. She finished the last of the bread, brushed crumbs from her lap. No, it doesn't. He studied her for a moment, trying to read what she wasn't saying. Her face gave nothing away. Outside, a hote snorted, hooves clopping on hard ground. The sheriff's silhouette moved past the window, slow, like he was in no hurry to leave the property. The man stood, stepped to the door, and watched from the crack. The sheriff rode toward the road, but glanced back once before disappearing from sight. When he turned back, the girl was looking at him. You believe me now? She asked. I believe you're hiding from something mean enough to send the sheriff sniffing around first thing in the morning. That's believing enough, she said. He walked to the stove, poured more coffee, set the cup in front of her. Drink. You'll need it. She wrapped her hands around the cup, letting the steam hit her face. He'll be back. I know. They drank in silence for a while. He kept thinking about the way the sheriff's eyes lingered, the weight in his voice when he said runaways. You planning to stay here until they stop looking? He asked. They don't stop looking. That's not an answer. It's the only one I've got. He leaned forward. If you're asking me to keep you safe, you need to be honest. I'm not asking, she said. That's your problem. She set the cup down, meeting his stare. If I'd told you the truth yesterday, you'd have sent me out. Probably. Then you understand why I didn't. He didn't reply. The clock on the wall ticked louder in the quiet. Finally he stood. I've got chores. You stay put. I'm not going anywhere, she said. That's what I'm afraid of. He stepped outside into the morning light. The air was cool, sharp in his lungs. He could still see the faint tracks of the sheriff's horse in the dirt. In the kitchen, she sipped the last of the coffee, eyes on the door. She knew he wasn't just worried about her. He was worried about himself now, too. When he came back in, he dropped a sack of feed by the door and sat down again. If the sheriff comes back, you let me do the talking. I will if you tell the truth. He gave her a look. My truth, not yours. She tilted her head. And what's your truth?
that you're my responsibility until I say otherwise."
She didn't argue, but the small, almost hidden smile she gave him told him she thought she'd already won. The last nail went in with a sharp crack. He stood back from the north pasture gate, breathing hard, hammer still in his hand. The boards looked crooked in the dim light, but it didn't matter. He wanted them shut. The girl stood a few feet away, arms crossed tight. "You think Wood's going to stop them?" "They're not real," he said, wiping his brow. They move in the dark," she cut in. "Gates are invitations. You leave it open. You're asking for it." He shook his head. "You're scaring the horses. Better scared than taken." Her voice was steady, but her eyes flicked toward the far fence line, where the grass bent against the wind. He didn't like the way she kept looking there. "You slept at all?" he asked. "No." "Then that's the trouble. I know what I saw." He sighed, set the hammer on the fence post. The sun had gone behind the ridge, and shadows were spilling fast over the pasture. "Let's get inside." They turned toward the house, boots crunching over dirt. Somewhere behind them, a loose chain rattled. She froze. "Hear that?" "Just the wind." "It's not the wind." They kept walking. The air smelled like rain, though the sky was dry. Halfway to the porch, a sound came again. Boots on gravel. Slow. Measured. He stopped this time. "Stay here." She grabbed his sleeve. "Don't." But he pulled free and stepped toward the sound. The yard lay open under the moonlight. Silver on the water trough. Shadows leaning long from the barn. No one there. "You see anybody?" she called. "No." The wind shifted. Grass whispered along the fence. He turned one more time, scanning the yard, but the dark only stared back. Inside, the lamps were low. She moved to the table without speaking, pulling her shawl tighter. He poured coffee, the old tin mug rattling against the pot. He said, "There's something you don't want to tell me." He glanced at her. "Like what?" "Like why you're really nailing gates shut. I told you I don't want the cattle wandering." "There's no cattle in that pasture." He didn't answer. She got up and crossed to the back door. He heard the latch lift. "What are you doing?" he asked. She stepped outside. The cold air slid in before the door swung closed. He followed her out onto the porch, where the moon lit the yard clear enough to see frost on the railings. She went straight to the water trough, knelt beside it, and dug her fingers into the dirt. Something caught the light. He came closer. "What's that?" She pulled it free. An old brass badge, the kind sheriffs wore. Dirt clung to the edges, and the center was dark with dried blood. He stared at it. "Where'd you find that?" "Half buried." She held it up between them. "You ever lose one of these?" "Never had one." She studied his face. "Then who did?" He didn't answer. The wind slid through the yard again, and the gate boards creaked against the nails. Somewhere, far out past the north fence, a low sound carried. Could have been an animal. Could have been a man. She put the badge in her pocket. He said, "Best throw it in the creek." "No. That thing brings trouble." "So do you." Her voice was quiet, almost kind, but it landed heavy. He turned back toward the house, not waiting for her to follow. Inside, he poured another mug of coffee, though it had gone bitter with sitting. She came in a minute later, set the badge on the table. He didn't look at it. "You going to tell me what happened here before I came?" she asked. He shook his head. "No good comes from talking. Maybe no good comes from keeping quiet." His hand tightened on the mug. "You think you know danger. You don't. I know enough to close gates." They stared at each other across the table. Outside,
Something
and scraped along the porch rail, slow, dragging. He started to stand, but she lifted a hand. Don't. You hear that?
I hear it. And if you open that door, you're letting it in. He sank back into the chair, eyes on the door. The scrape came again, then stopped. Minutes passed. The lamp hissed softly. Finally, she pushed the badge toward him. He's coming next. Her voice was steady, certain. He looked at the badge, then at her. Who? You'll see. Neither of them moved to touch it. Outside, the night seemed to lean against the walls, listening. The lamp on the table burned low, throwing a slow, wavering light across the room. The man sat forward, elbows on his knees, watching the girl like a hawk that didn't trust the quiet. Outside, the night pressed against the windows, heavy and listening. "You're going to tell me," he said, voice low, "what that badge means?" She didn't answer right away. She rolled it in her fingers, brass glinting under the lamplight. The dried blood on the edge caught the light too, a dull brown smear. "That badge belonged to a lawman," he said. She looked up, eyes sharp. "No, belonged to my mother. He took it when he took her." His jaw tightened. "Who?" She leaned back in the chair. "My father." He let that hang in the air a moment. "You said your father was dead. That's the story they tell. Easier than explaining the truth." She set the badge down on the table. It spun once, then stopped, pointing toward him like it had something to accuse. "The truth is, I'm the governor's daughter." The words hit him like a stray nail in the hand. He sat back, the chair creaking under his weight. "You're telling me you—" "Illegitimate," she cut in. "Hidden away, brought out when they needed me. I was a bargaining chip, a piece in land deals. The men who wanted something from him got to see me, got to know I existed, and they understood the risk of crossing him." He frowned. "What risk?" She leaned in, elbows on the table. "The governor hunts his disobedient blood, makes executions. Temples. People who hide them end up in the ground or the river. Doesn't matter who they are. Doesn't matter what they did or didn't do." The man's throat went dry. The words sank in slow, bitter. She didn't stop. "That badge? My mother wore it. She worked as a deputy for a while. She was good, honest. But she wouldn't bend to him. Wouldn't disappear when he told her to. So he sent a man. Took the badge off her chest. Took her too. The badge came back to me tonight, so I know what that means." He stared at the brass on the table. "Means a lawman's involved now." Her mouth twisted. "Means he's closer than we think." He stood and walked to the window, looking out into the darkness. The yard was still. The north pasture gate stood nailed shut, just like he'd left it. "Why tell me now?" "Because you asked, and because you're the only one I've met who might believe me." "I don't," he said, too quick. "You do." He turned from the glass, the faint reflection of his own face still hanging in his eyes. "No. I think you've been scared too long, and now you're scaring yourself into stories." She shook her head. "You've seen enough to know better. The signs on the fence, the boots in the gravel, that wasn't nothing." He walked back to the table, hands on his hips. "It could have been anybody." "Could have been," she said, "but wasn't." Silence stretched, thick and uneasy. The wind shifted outside, rattling the side of the house. She spoke again, softer now. "You ever lose someone to an accident?" He didn't answer. "I'm not guessing," she said. "I can see it on your face. The way you look at me sometimes." His voice came out rough. "My wife. Years back. Horse through her, or that's what they told me. But the saddle cinch was cut clean through. I found the knife marks myself." Her eyes didn't blink. "Then you already know how he works."
The lamp hissed faintly as the oil shifted. He sat, down across from her again, feeling the chair's wood bite into his legs. "You run because you think he's coming for you." "I know he is." "How?" "He sends a sign first, something personal, something only I'd recognize. This badge is his way of saying he found me." He rubbed his face. "Could be a coincidence." She almost laughed. "You really believe that?" He didn't answer. Her voice steadied, even as her hands trembled. "If you're smart, you'll put me on a wagon headed anywhere but here before the sun comes up. And if I don't, then you're in it with me." The words dropped between them, heavy as stones. He stared at the table, tracing the old scratches in the wood. "I've been in worse." "You haven't." They both looked toward the door when a soft creak sounded from outside, near the porch. He stood fast, crossing to the rifle propped in the corner. She didn't move, just watched him slide the bolt and step to the front window. "What is it?" she whispered. He scanned the yard. The gravel path was empty, the shadows thick and unmoving. "Nothing," he muttered. "It's never nothing," she said. He glanced back at her. "You going to tell me what he wants from you now?" Her eyes were fixed on the badge. "Control. Proof he can take whatever he wants and no one can stop him. I'm not the first, and I won't be the last." He let out a slow breath. "What's the governor want with this land?" She shook her head. "Not the land. The people on it. This place has stood against him longer than anywhere else. Every family here means something, and every family here can be broken." His stomach tightened. "You think he killed my wife to get to me?" "I think he wanted you out of the way, and now you're not." The wind outside rose, carrying a sound with it, low, far off, and drawn out. She froze. "Hear that?" He tilted his head. The sound came again, faint but clear. A horn, long and mournful, rolling over the fields. "What is it?" he asked. Her voice was barely a breath. "The riders." He turned toward the door. "How many?" "Inu. Kum." The horn sounded again, closer this time. She stood, picked up the badge, and set it between them on the table. "He's coming next." The wind shifted before the sound reached him. It carried dust through the yard, rattling the tin nailed to the chicken shed. He had the rifle in his hands before he even looked toward the road. The girl stiffened in the chair by the stove. "They're coming," he said. She was on her feet, scanning the windows. "How many?" "3. Her eyes darted toward the door. "I'll get under the table." "Stay low. Don't breathe loud." She slid under, curling her knees, pulling her skirt tight so it wouldn't drag. He stepped to the doorway, rifle angled across his chest. The horses appeared in a slow line, moving in from the dry ridge. 2 carried rifles across their saddles. The third wore a black coat that caught the light like oiled leather. The black coat lifted a hand. The riders stopped just shy of the fence. "Afternoon," the man in the coat called. His voice carried easy. The rifle in the rancher's hands didn't move. "State your business. You've got something that doesn't belong to you. Don't see your name on anything here." The black coat smiled like it was rehearsed. "You're keeping the governor's property. I've come to collect." "She's not property." "That's an opinion," the man in the coat said. "The governor's got a different one." "Tell him he's wrong." "That's not my job." "Then why are you here?" The black coat leaned on his saddle horn. "To offer a way out. You give her up, quiet. No trouble. In return, you never have to answer for what happened 12 years ago." The rancher's grip on the rifle tightened. "You don't know what you're talking about." "I know about the creek, about the sheriff, about how he never made it home that night." The rancher didn't blink. "You think you can scare me?"
No. I think I can make you remember what it feels like to have everything taken. That's a feeling you understand.
Get off my land. The man in the coat let the words hang, then nodded to his riders.
I'll be plain. She comes back with us, we shake hands, you keep breathing easy. You keep her, you'll be digging 2 graves by sundown tomorrow.
I'm not handing her over.
That's a poor decision.
It's the only one. The black coat's smile never broke. You've got until the sun drops behind the ridge tomorrow. That's generous. The rancher stepped forward 1 pace, the rifle steady. If you come back here, you won't leave. The 2 riders with rifles shifted in their saddles, but the black coat lifted a hand to keep them still. You're stubborn. Stubborn men end up in the ground quicker than they think. Go on and find out. The man in the coat studied him a beat longer, then turned his horse. The other 2 followed, the 3 of them riding slow back up the ridge until they vanished into the dust. He lowered the rifle but didn't set it down. The girl crawled out from under the table. They won't wait until sundown tomorrow, she said flatly. You're probably right. You believe what he said about 12 years ago. Doesn't matter. It matters to me. He shook his head. What matters is we're still breathing. For now. She crossed her arms. You can't outshoot 3 of them. Maybe more. I don't plan on trying. Then what? Then we make sure they don't get what they came for. The room went quiet except for the ticking of the stove. He moved to the window, scanning the yard. His eyes stopped on the barn. The big door hung half open, swaying just enough to catch the light. I locked that this morning, he said. The girl came to his side. Then someone's still in there. He kept his voice low. Get back under the table. No. This isn't a debate. I'm not hiding again. He turned to her, voice sharp. Do it. She didn't move. The wind picked up, rattling the door on its hinges. Somewhere inside, a board creaked. He raised the rifle again, the weight of it, familiar in his hands. Stay behind me, he said. The wind had shifted overnight, bringing the smell of iron from the barn. He stepped outside, boots scraping the frost. The girl was already by the fence, hair tangled, staring toward the old well. You didn't sleep, he said. Neither did you. He walked past her, feeling her follow. The yard felt wrong, quiet in a way that made the skin tighten on the back of his neck. Something's down there, she said. It's just water. No, I heard it. He stopped at the stones. The rope was gone, the cover pushed aside. Shadows clung to the opening. You didn't do this? She shook her head. He crouched, peering into the black. Cold air breathed up at him. The smell was faint but sharp. Oil and rust. Fetch the lantern. She ran, bare feet quick on the dirt. He listened. The yard was too still. Even the crows had left. She came back, holding the light like it might bite her. He lowered it, the glow spilling down the rough stones. Something glinted near the water. What is it? He didn't answer. She leaned beside him. That's a gun. Rusted to hell, he said. Why is it in there? He didn't want to guess. The weight of old things was heavy here. He tied the lantern rope around his wrist, braced his boots, and reached. His fingers brushed cold metal. The water lapped his sleeve. When he pulled it free, the revolver was orange with decay, the handle eaten soft. Still works? She asked. Doubt it. She took it anyway, turning it in her small hands like it was a coin she meant to keep. Put it back, he said. No. He straightened. That's not a toy. Her eyes didn't leave his. Neither am I. He almost said something, but the sound stopped him, a low creak from the far side of the yard. The barn door was open, a hand's width. Stay here. She didn't. She trailed him as he crossed, the revolver hidden in her dress. The boards groaned and his weight. Inside, the smell was worse. Sour hay, damp leather, and something older. A figure stepped from the shadows. Black coat, tall hat, face half hidden. "You're late," the man said. "I wasn't expecting company." "Not company, collection." The girl shifted behind him. "Who is he?" "Nobody you need to know." The black coat smiled. "Governor wants the girl. Said you'd understand." "I don't." "Not your call." The man's hand moved toward his belt. He didn't think. He lunged, driving the stranger back into the post. They hit the boards hard. The gun never cleared its holster. The girl yelled. Another shadow moved in the loft above. He looked up in time to see the barrel swing toward him. He rolled, pulling her down. The shot cracked, splintering the beam where his head had been. They scrambled out into the yard. The black coat followed, slower now, one arm hanging. The other man dropped from the loft, boots thudding. "You should have stayed out of this," the black coat said. "You came to my yard. Everything here belongs to him now." The girl's fingers tightened on the rusted gun. He saw it, saw her face, and shook his head. "Not yet," he said. The men circled, eyes flicking to the well. The black coat's gaze lingered there a moment too long. "What's in the well?" he asked. "Nothing for you." The stranger's smile didn't reach his eyes. "We'll see." They left without firing another shot, but he knew they'd be back. The way the girl stood told him she knew it too. That night, he sat on the porch, the revolver on the step beside him. She came out, wrapped in his old coat. "You're going to use it," she said. "Only if I have to." "You will." He looked toward the yard. The well was just a dark circle now, silent under the moon. "They'll come before dawn," she said. He didn't ask how she knew. He believed her. Inside, the lamp flickered low. He oiled the revolver, slow, careful, ignoring the ache in his hands. The rust bled under his rag, but the cylinder turned. When he set it down, she was watching from the doorway. "You think it's cursed?" she asked. "Don't be. Leave her in curses." "Maybe you should." The wind rose again, carrying the faint, hollow echo from the well. He didn't look. Some things were better faced in daylight, if daylight ever came. The horn came before the sun. Low, flat, carrying across the frosted fields. He was already at the window, watching the horizon turn the color of old paper. The girl stood barefoot on the floorboards, hair loose, eyes wide. She didn't ask. "They're back," he said. She nodded once, slow. By the time the riders broke the line of the trees, the yard was still half shadow. 6 of them. The black coat at the front, collar turned up, hat brim low. Hooves crushed the frost into mud. "You can stay inside," he told her. She didn't move. The black coat dismounted. "We doing this the easy way or the hard way?" "No way," the man said. The first shot tore splinters from the porch post. He dropped low, fired twice. One of the governor's men spun off his saddle, landing in the trough. Another slid sideways, clutching his chest. The yard filled with gun smoke, white against the cold air. Horses reared, metal clanged. The girl's hands were over her ears, but her eyes never left him. A bullet struck the porch rail. He ducked, felt the burn along his arm. Then the black coat stepped forward, firing from the hip. The man hit the dirt, rolled behind the water barrel. He popped up, aimed, squeezed. The black coat staggered back, hat tumbling, a hole blooming in his shirt. For a breath, it was quiet, except for the horses. That's when the sheriff rode in. He didn't even look at the dead men. His badge caught the light, bright and sharp. "Stand down," the sheriff said. "You here to help?"
the man asked. I'm here for her, the sheriff said. Governor's orders. She's not going anywhere. The sheriff raised his rifle. You gonna make me? The girl stepped back, her heel hitting the porch post, the governor's. Men regrouped behind the sheriff, guns leveled. You best hand her over, the sheriff said. The man's fingers flexed on the grip of his revolver. He saw the odds. Too many guns. 2 men rushed forward, grabbed him by the arms, slammed him against the post. The sheriff walked past, reached for the girl's arm. She twisted, eyes darting toward the well. Pa! She yelled. It wasn't what she called him, not ever. The word cut through the ringing in his ears. Her hand flashed. Something metal flew through the air, spinning, catching the light. The rusted revolver, the one they'd pulled from the bottom of the well. He caught it. No time to think. Just the weight in his hand, the cold trigger under his finger. The sheriff's face turned just as he fired. The sound cracked the yard open. The sheriff fell back, badge catching the sun one last time before it hit the dirt. The men froze. Then they scattered. Some ran for their horses, some into the trees. The girl stood still, chest rising and falling, eyes locked on him. He let the revolver drop into the mud. They didn't speak while the yard emptied. The black coat lay still, eyes glassy, hat a few feet away. When it was done, he walked to the well. The girl followed. He reached into the dirt beside it, found the sheriff's badge. Next to it, the ribbon that had been tied around her wrist the night they'd taken her. He picked up the black coat's hat, heavy with frost. One by one he dropped them into the dark mouth of the well. The badge went first, then the ribbon, then the hat. He struck a match. The flame danced in the wind before he let it fall. The dry rope inside caught, smoke curling up, the smell of burning cloth and leather. They stayed there until the fire's glow was gone, swallowed by the dark below. Back on the porch, the boards creaked under their weight. He sat in the chair nearest the door. She stood for a moment, then eased down beside him. Her head found his shoulder. You ain't my pa, she said. Maybe.
Not, he said, but you're mine now. The horn sounded again in the distance. Neither of them moved. This time no one answered.